Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be setting up a web server in Debian. Our hypervisor will be VirtualBox and our host operating system Windows 11. Okay. These guys assume that you have VirtualBox installed on your host operating system and that you know how to create a Debian virtual machine. What are the requirements for this particular guide? Well, the hypervisor is VirtualBox, the host is Windows 10 or 11, and you can also do it in macOS, either Apple or Intel Silicon. Just make sure that the things that are unique to Windows, you will translate them to macOS. The guest OS is going to be Debian 13 with no graphical user interface. The server application will be Apache. We're going to be using SSH for remote management, and we're going to use Git and GitHub so that we can upload files to our web server. Um, the host machine requirements is a quad core higher, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and at least 60 gigabytes of storage. The guest machine system requirements is just one core, 1 gigabyte of RAM, and 10 gigabytes of storage. So let's go ahead and work with the step number one, creating the virtual machine. You need the ISO file for Debian. You can download it here for Intel or AMD CPUs. For Intel Macs, same download link. And for Apple Silicon, this is the link that you should use. It's right over here at the bottom, ARM64 NET ISO. Okie dokie. After you download your ISO file, please proceed with the installation of the operating system. You can follow the steps in the presentation over here. It's just going to walk you through creating a virtual machine. And there is also a presentation for installing Debian. So now I'm just going to go and create the virtual machine, right? So I'm going to open VirtualBox and let's see new. And the name of the virtual machine is going to be Debian server. Just gonna call it Debian web server. I'm gonna leave the location as is. Let me get my ISO file. I'm going to skip the unattended installation. The amount of RAM is just 1 gig and the CPU cores is only 1. The space of the hard drive is gonna be 10 gigabytes. Again, you can increase the size if you want a larger storage, but for my testing, for my purposes, 10 gigabytes is enough for me. I'm gonna leave that to your discretion. In system, I'm gonna disable floppy. In display, 16 megabytes is fine. You can increase it a little more if you want, but we're not gonna use a graphical environment here, so that should be fine. No audio driver, please, because we're not using the driver. We're not using audio here. And for now, we're going to leave the network as is. If you're getting any problems during the installation, packages cannot be downloaded, internet connection problems, come here and change this to bridge. But I'm going to leave it as NAT for the time being. I click OK, and I'm going to start my virtual machine. This starts steps number 2. And here is a presentation on installing Debian on the Debian installer. It walks you through the entire installer. The only difference between this one, because this presentation was built for the desktop version, is that when you get to the selecting software section, we're going to select web server, SSH, and standard system utilities. Everything else we're going to deselect it because this is a server environment, so we don't need nothing else. Let's go through the installer. I'm going to click inside. Yes, capture my mouse. Graphical install. Enter here for English, enter for United States, enter for American English. This is the step that can fail if you're having network problems. Host name, I'm gonna call this web server. Domain name, I'm gonna leave it empty. Configuring the user, I'm gonna click on continue here. Name of the user, I'm just gonna provide my username here. Again, my username is fine. Now I'm gonna choose my password. I'm gonna pick something simple, as you can see, because this is just a testing environment for me. This is not something that's gonna be used for production. Okay, use entire disk. Yes. This is the hard drive, correct. All files in a single partition. And save changes to the disk. Yes. Now we just wait until the base system finish installing. Okay, the base system has been installed. Here I'm gonna select no. Yes, the mirror is in the United States. Debian.debian.org. Continue. Let's wait until it finishes configuring apt. Almost there. Okay, so here in the package survey, I'm gonna click yes. You can click no if you want. And here we are in the desktop environment section. I only want web server, SSH server, and the standard system utilities. Click on continue, and this shouldn't take too long. Okay, so click on yes here. This is the hard drive where Grub will be installed. And the installation is finally done. Let's click on continue here, and let's go back to the instructions. Now, step 3 is simple. All we're gonna do is an update, and that's it. Capture, enter, and let's sign in. Okay, let me try to make this bigger. Oh, okay, that's better. So let's log in by typing in our username and then our password. And we're in. Now let's update the system. Now let's upgrade the system. All done. Now we're gonna do a bit of a configuration on the server. Let's start with the firewall. We need to install it first, and this is the package we need to install, UFW. So let's do sudo apt install UFW. And the installation is done. Let's see if I can view virtual screen. Sorry, view virtual screen 175. This is still not what I want it to be. How about 150? Yeah, that's a little better. Perfect. Then we're going to enable the firewall. Here, I'm gonna put the instructions side by side with the virtual machine. Perfect. So let's do sudo ufw enable. And the firewall is active. Now we're going to allow SSH traffic, and we're going to allow Apache traffic to come through and out of our firewall. So let's do sudo ufw allow, and in quotations we do www full. Good. Now let's do the same thing, but for open SSH. Boom. Okay. If you want to learn more about UFW, this article by DigitalOcean is fantastic. These people did a very good job on this. I suggest you to go read it. Now let's check if the services that we need are running. We're going to need Apache 2 for our web server and SSH to remote into the machine, into the server. So let's take a look at this. The command that we use for this is system control. And then the option of systemctl is status. And as you guessed, it's going to tell us the status, oops, of our service. We can see that it's enabled, which means that it's going to start the moment we sign in, and it's also running, which means that it's active. Now let's take a look at SSH. Again, is running and is enabled, which is pretty good. And now let's take a look at UFW. UFW. We can see that it's enabled, but it's not running. One thing that we can do is we can do sudo system control start UFW that service. And if you check again, it's going to say that it's active and is enabled. Now, the options of system control, there are way too many, but the ones that you should be concerned with are start to start a service, stop to stop a service, restart to restart it, enable to enable, disable to disable. Now, let's take a look if our web server is running. Now, if we do, let's go back to the VM. If we do host name -i to get the IP address, we're going to see that the IP address of the computer, look at the first line here, is 10.0.2.15. Now, if you try to put that IP address here, 10.0.2.15, you're going to notice that it will resolve to nothing because that IP is not in our network. That is a NAT IP address, is a network that is isolated from our regular network, from our computer. If we actually look, let me open the terminal here. So if we go into the Windows terminal and we do ipconfig, we're going to see that this here is the IP address of my computer right now. Well, that's the VMware adapter. Now I want to go up right over here. This is the IP address of my computer right now. So definitely not going to work because this is a very different IP address from the IP address that the virtual machine is getting. So how do we fix this? We need to have our virtual machine and our computer on the same network. So let's close this for now. Now, we can check if the configuration file, if the server is running, by downloading the default Apache config site that gets put up when you install the service, when you install the program. So how do we do that? We can use curl or we can use wget. So if you do wget localhost, that should return, it should say 100% and it should return index.html. So we do ls, you're going to see that you have a file called index.html. This means that our server is running. By the way, if you do wget 127.0.0.1, it will do the same thing. Okay, now let's take a look at what's inside index.html. So if we do less index.html, you can see that it's actually, well, HTML code is actually a website. So let's gonna quit, press Q to quit. Let's clear the screen over here again. Now let's move along to step number 5, remote access to the server. And this is when things start getting interesting. We have a web server and the web server is running. How do we manage? How do we administer that server? Now, I'm gonna open, let me just turn off the virtual machine. We can do sudo shut down now. Good. And I'm gonna open the settings of the virtual machine and go to network. So we have a lot of options here for network. All of the options that you see here, I described them over here, right? This information was extracted from VirtualBox documentation if you want to go read it for yourself. There are two modes that we are interested in. NAT, which is what it's currently configured as, and bridge. Now, the easiest way to solve the problem that we have right now is by switching this attached to bridge. And this is going to make it so that our virtual machine is another computer in our network. So the virtual machine gets an IP address from our router and it works just like a computer, just like another computer we have in our internal network in our house. The problem is that that doesn't work for everybody. For some people, bridge adapter doesn't work. Either their computer doesn't support bridge adapter or the driver doesn't work bridge adapter for whatever reason. The point is that it doesn't work. Other people have problems with their router that doesn't allow them to get an IP address if the adapter is breached. Different hardware, different rules, different computers. So try bridge adapter first and click OK. If this works, then the instructions that you're going to follow in this guide are those that are related to bridge adapter. If that doesn't work, I am going to show you how to enable port forwarding so that you can get this working even if you don't have bridge adapter. So let's start the VM. Okay, let's sign in. And now let's see what IP address my server got. And there we go. We have now an IP address that is inside our network, 192.168.1.158. And boom, this is the page that my server is displaying right now. Right, and we can take a look at where this place is located, because if you list var www html, you're gonna see that index.html file that we downloaded earlier. That is the page that is being displayed right now. This is good. If this worked for you, congratulations. This is gonna be even easier for you because you don't have to worry about ports or anything like that. Now, if this didn't work for you, that means you need to use, well, port forwarding. So for those of you who were able to do bridge, just move to the next section. For those of you who couldn't, I'm going to show you how to do, well, network NAT with port forwarding now. So again, I'm going to turn this computer off. Sudo shut down now. And we're going to click on settings. We're going to go to network, and then from bridge, we change to NAT. And then we click on port forwarding. Let's click on plus here, and we are forwarding port 2222 to port 22. This is gonna be for SSH. And then we're gonna forward port 8080 to port 80 here. That's gonna be for web traffic, HTTP traffic. So we're gonna click on OK. And we're gonna click on OK. Now let's turn on the virtual machine one more time. So when traffic arrives, and yes, allow, Jesus, Windows, man. This is gonna make it so that, let me present it over here. This is gonna make it so that when traffic comes to the host computer, to Windows, on port 2222, it's gonna be forwarded to port 22 on the virtual machine. And the same when traffic comes from port 8080 on our host machine, Windows, that traffic gets forwarded to port 80 on the virtual machine. All of that is explained over here as well. So if you want to read on it, please read on it. So let's move it on the side and let's sign in. Wrap and my password. And again, if you do host name -I for your IP address, you're going to see that we're back to 10.0.2.15. Now, if I want to access this server, right, I need to do 127.0.0.1, which is the local host IP address, colon 8080. And notice that we get the same page. And even if I copy this and I open an incognito window, see, it sends you to the same place because it's forwarding that traffic that is arriving on port 8080 to port 80 in the virtual machine. We're going to close this now. Let's move along the documentation. See how to tell if you can use bridge adapter. This is what we just did right now. It's just in an explain format. And here is when we expand on what IPv4 is. It's a 32-bit address, what a network mask is, and all of this stuff. If you're a networking student, please read on this. Actually, regardless of what major you are, please read on this little bit of information here because it's going to help you understand the things that I just demonstrated in the video right now. right? I take it you know how to read, so I'm just gonna speed through this. This is how we use NAT. Here's a little illustration of what I explained to you. So traffic that comes on port 8080 gets forwarded to the virtual machine on port 80. Now let's move along to step number 6. Managing our server from Windows, because that's what we want, right? We want the ability to have more control of that virtual machine. And if I can manage it from Windows, that means that I can copy and paste to the Windows terminal. There is a lot of things that I can do this way. And that means that I can also manage it from another computer, which is pretty good. And that's what SSH is for. Please read on this, read this, read this. Try to look at the syntax that I have over here, and then come to the demonstration that we're going to do. Now, how do I connect to my virtual machine using SSH? Now, there are two ways, again, obviously, because we have bridge network adapter and we have, well, NAT with port forwarding. I have two examples over here. This is using bridge network adapter, and this one is using NAT. I am going to demonstrate using port forwarding because that's what I currently have right now in my system. And then I'm going to show how to do it with, well, bridge network adapter. So let's open a terminal. I'm on Windows 10. Windows 10 has a terminal application. I'm going to open it as administrator. Okay, I'm going to put it right here on the side. Please notice the prompt. Now we're going to do SSH. And the port that we're going to use is 2222. So how do we do it? Quite simple. Let me just go here to your little syntax there so that you see exactly where I'm putting everything. So the program is SSH. Because I am using a custom port, I need to use option -P. Good. Now I need to specify the port that I'm using, 2222. And then my username and the IP address. Now, what username, you might ask? The username in the server, the one that you use to sign in the server. So let's do wrap, because that's the one for me. At, and why are we using 127.0.1? Because we are connecting to the virtual machine that is currently being forwarded to port 2222. So 127.0.0.1. By the way, if you put localhost there, it works the same way. Press enter and type yes. Type your password, the password for that username in that computer, in the server, and boom, we are now inside the server. We can run commands here and they will get executed in the server. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to turn off that server from here. Sudo shut down now. Type your password, connection terminated, the virtual machine is off. And as simple as that. Now, I am going to demonstrate the same thing using bridge network adapter. So let's go to settings here and let me go to network and switch this to bridge. Click OK. Let me turn it on. Now, this is simpler when you're using bridge network adapter because you don't need to remember ports or anything like that. You just need to remember the IP address of your, well, machine. Okay, let's sign in. And again, host name -I. The IP address is 192.168.1.158. So let's go here. Let's do SSH, my username at 192.168.1.158. Type yes, your password, and that's it. Hence the reason why I say that if you were able to do bridge network adapter, a lot of the things that we do become much easier than if you are doing port forwarding. Okay, and that's it. That's how we connect to our server. So make sure you write down that IP address somewhere so you don't have to always sign in here to look at the IP address. Let's scroll down over here. adding content to our web server. Now this becomes interesting here. Now our web server, I'm just gonna minimize that. Our web server is gonna put content automatically in the HTML folder. Now all the content that we want to serve in our web server, we just have to place it in the HTML folder. The problem is that this folder is owned by root. So there are a couple of things that we need to change in order for this to work properly. The first thing that we're gonna do is change the ownership of the directory. So let's do, let me zoom in here a little bit. There we go. Isn't that better? There you go. Let's do sudo chon -r for recursive, $user www data, and then var www html. Just like that. Change ownership recursively of this folder so that the user that owns it is user, but keep the group ownership as www data. Press enter here, type your password. Now let's change the mode, change the permissions on the folder to 775. So let's do sudo chmod recursively 775 var www html, and we're done there. Okay, now we are going to download a pre-built website because we want to play around with this server, right? Let's download a website and let's put it in the server to see how it renders. So I'm just gonna use this font here. You can just go to this website and pick whichever template you want to play around with. I'm just gonna use this one here, this one. I'm gonna click on download. Just wait until it finishes, and we have a zip file in the downloads folder. Good. Now, how do we get that zip file to our server? There are two ways for us to do this. First, we can use the command line, right? There is a command called scp available via SSH that allows you to upload files from your local computer to your server, right? That's the first method that I'm going to show you. There is another method, which is using a graphical application called FTP. Let's do method number one first. So this is the syntax of the command. SCP port, the port that you're using, the absolute path or the path to the file that you are uploading to the server, the username, localhost, and then the path in the server where the files are gonna be. So let's fill in the blanks here. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna exit from my server, exit, and now let's try out this command. SCP minus capital P. I'm using port. Well, right now I am doing bridge network adapters. So because I'm doing bridge, I don't need to specify any port. For bridge, it's quite simple. This is the formula right here. So the absolute path of the zip file. Now you are on Windows. Because you're on Windows, the path starts with the drive letter, :/ users, your username, then downloads, and what was the name of the file again? It was, oops, clicking here, HTML up. Now this is the path to my file. Next, my username at, well, the server's IP address, which is 192.168.1, whoops, sorry, 168.1.158, colon, and then the path or folder where I'm going to place this zip file, var www html. Let me zoom out. Actually, let me go like this full screen so you can see the full command. SCP, absolute path to the location of the zip file, username, IP address of the server, and then the folder where I'm going to place the zip file. Press enter over here, type your password, and boom, done. If you get this output, you did it good. Okay, that's done. Now I'm gonna do an example with port forwarding. So let me turn off the virtual machine real quick. I'm just gonna sign in. And I'm gonna do the example with port forwarding. Obviously, if you are using Bridge, please move on to the next part. Timestamps are going to be in the video description. Click OK. Turn it on. I hope you guys are having fun. I surely am. Okay, back to my terminal. And this is my command. Press enter. Oops, sorry. I don't need that. I'm trying my SSH command, my SCP command, SCP right over here. And I'm just gonna edit the things that I need to. So first of all, oops, let me go full screen here. I'll just type the whole thing, why not? So SCP, let's specify the port, 2222. And now we need the file that we're sending to the server. That would be, again, we're in Windows, so we have to type with the drive letter C:\\, users, my username, downloads, and then the file. And now we do the user at 127.0.0.1 var www html. Again, SCP, the port, the absolute path of the file that I am sending to the server, my username, the IP address of localhost, and then the folder where I'm placing the files in my Linux server. Press enter, type your password, and done. The file is there. Okay, now that I have the file in the server, I'm gonna sign in into the server. Good. And I'm gonna change directories to var www html. Let me list. Good. Here is my file right there that I'm working with. The first thing that I want to do is this file, I'm going to make a backup of it. So I'm going to rename it with mv index.html index.html.bk. Good. Now we're going to unzip this. However, it's very likely that the unzip command is not installed. Let's see if it is. Where is unzip? Yep, it's not installed, so let's install it. Sudo apt install unzip. Now let's unzip the folder. Done. Let's list the files that are inside the folder and take a look. Okay, good. We have an index.html file and we have a bunch of other files there. We can remove this zip file if we want. So let's remove html file.zip. Perfect. Now let's go and navigate to our website in a web browser in the host to see how this website looks like. So because I am using port forwarding, I need to use 127.0.0.1 8080. Whoa, it's working. It's working. I mean, the images are not loading, but that's probably some problem with the code, but that's fine. It's working. Our web server is working as we expected it to work. Congratulations. If you got to this point, you're good to go. You were able to get your web server to run. You were able to put files on the web server. Now you can play around with this however you please. Let's continue on with the instructions. Uploading files using Filezila. Now, for those of you who do not want to do this via the command line, you don't want to use SCP, There is an alternative. We can use Filezila, and I'm going to do the same thing using Filezila. But before I do that, let me clean up a little bit. Again, I am cleaning up just so that I can repeat the process. So I'm going to do remove -R, everything in the folder, and my folder is clean. Good. I'm going to exit. Good. I'm back in Windows. Now let's go to Filezilla, and we need to download the client. So let's click on it, and let's click download Filezilla only. And now we wait. I wonder if I have Filezilla installed here. Let's see. And nope. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. My internet is a little slow because I'm downloading Resident Evil on the other computer. Okay, click on yes, click on agree. No, Windows, I do not want to install none other nonsense. Click on next. Yes, anyone in the computer. I don't use desktop icons. And click on next and click on install. Next and finish. And this is Filezilla. The interface might look a little dated and might be a little intimidating, but trust me, it's not. I'll show you what you need to do. So the first thing that we need to do is, if you are using a bridge network adapter, the setup is a bit simpler. I am going to do a connection using the, I believe we're using now, yeah, we're using port forwarding. So I'm going to do port forwarding first. So let's click on the button for site manager, which is right over here. And let's click on new site. I'm going to call this port forward. In the protocol section, we're going to say change this to SFTP, which is the SSH implementation of FTP. In the host, we do 127.0, oops, 127.0.0.1, and the port will be 2222. The type of login is normal, and the user will be the username that you use to log into the server with SSH, and the password will be, well, the password. Click on OK, click on OK, and now we can click on the little drop down arrow right next to Site Manager, and you can click on Port Forward. Connect to the server. Did I turn off the computer? Nope, it's not off. I'm pretty sure I'm using Port Forwarding right now. Let's go in troubleshooting mode. Display, nope, network, NAT, Port Forwarding, yes. Let's go and edit the site. File, oops, sorry, File Manager. Maybe the password is wrong. Let me try. Okay, and we are, yep, this is the host. 120, oops, this IP address. Oh my God, if I could type. Could you believe that? Look at that nonsense right there. I just put mango on rice. That's crazy. 127.0.1. Okay, there you go. Oh my God, port forward. Click on OK over here, and boom. On this side, on the right, we have our web server. On this side over here, we have our Windows computer, and we can move files from one side to the other by dragging and dropping. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to navigate to, I can just type the path over here, var www html, enter. And this is our HTML folder that I cleaned up. Now on Windows here, again, let's locate the downloads folder. So admin users, my username, downloads, right here, boom. And this is the file right here. So I'm just click and drag all the way to this side, and boom, that's it. I sent the file to the server. Now, if you go into the server, let's go back to the Windows terminal. I'm gonna sign in real quick. cd var www html ls, boom, we have the file right there. Again, you can unzip it, unzip. If you don't have unzip installed, please install it. Again, we do sudo apt install unzip. and we do unzip HTML5. Good. Now let's type ls. We're gonna remove this file because we don't need it. So we're gonna do rm HTML file, and we have everything that we need. So now let's go to there we go. That's it. The same thing that we did on the command line, but this way we did it graphically. Again, if you don't want to deal with FCP, you can use SFTP. That is fine. Now, for your final project, if you're watching this video because you are on my Linux class, you're not going to use none of those two options, really. You're going to use Git, and that's what we're going to go to now. Okay, now, if you are using Bridge Network Adapter and you want to use FTP, let me show you how to do it. Okay, I am going to, again, I'm going to clean this folder. Perfect, and I'm going to exit. Now I am going to, oops, sorry, I needed to turn off the virtual machine real quick. Sudo shut down now. Out. Now we are going to settings, switch this back to bridge. I don't know why I keep turning it on like this. Let me show you something else you can do. You can always right click, start, and start without GUI. I don't know why I keep turning it on with the graphical user interface. I'm not using that anymore. And that's it. And here in the little preview, you can see when it turns on. That's crazy. Let's go back to the instructions. Yeah, just wait until it comes on. Actually, we can come here and start working on our SFTP connection. So to disconnect from the server, you just click on disconnect here. It's this little icon there for disconnect. Now let's click on site manager, and I'm going to create new site, and I'm going to call this bridge. The host here is going to be the IP address of our virtual machine, which is the 192.168.1, and I forgot the rest. 158. 1.158, and the port is 22 because SSH works on port 22. We need to change the protocol to SFTP. The user is my username, and the password is my password. Click OK. And now when you click on the drop down option, you click on bridge, OK, and that creates the connection from, see, here is my server and here is Windows. So here it says that I'm in the downloads folder. Here says that I am in my home folder. I want to go to var www html. And now I can just drag and drop the file that I need. I'm going to sign into my server. I'm going to navigate to the var www html file folder. Let me clear the screen, ls, and I'm going to unzip this. Make sure that sudo apt install unzip. Make sure that the package is installed. And now let's unzip that HTML file. I'm going to remove the zip file. And now if I go to my host machine and I type the IP address of the server, it should display the website that we downloaded from the template page. Isn't that great? Okay, so that concludes the part where we're using Filezila. Again, you don't want to use SCP, go ahead and use your graphical tool. That's totally fine with me. I prefer the command line, but some people put ketchup on rice, and I don't criticize them too much. The last part of this guide is using Git, right? So let's use Git on our server. So it's actually quite simple, and here is why. in our machine, in our computer, we're gonna, well, write code, and we're gonna put that code in a repository. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna turn off the server. So I'm gonna do sudo shutdown now, right? And I'm going to start my virtual machine, which is gonna be this one here. Yes, I want you to switch. So this is my Debian desktop virtual machine, right? So I'm assuming that this is what I write code. This is what I have my projects. And if you are one of my students, you're taking CIS 106, this is where you will write all your markdown code. Or well, this is where you do all the work. So let's turn off this virtual machine. Please make sure you turn off the server. You don't want to overload your system. And let's sign in over here. So the first thing that I want to do is that I'm going to go to GitHub. And I want to create a repository here. New. And I'm going to call this repository portfolio. Okay, I'm going to make sure it's a public repo, and I'm going to click on create repository. Okay, good. Now I'm going to clone this repository. So I'm going to open a terminal. I'm going to make sure that I am in my home folder. Make sure that I am home, right? I'm home right now. And I'm going to do git clone git at github.com colon my GitHub username and then my repository name that I'm cloning, which is portfolio. Press enter and it should clone your portfolio. Now it's giving you a warning telling you, hey dude, you cloned an empty repository, and that's good. That's fine. We want an empty repository because we're just working on this project now. So I'm gonna close the terminal for now and I'm gonna open VS Code. I'm gonna click on File, Open Folder, and I'm going to open my where are you, Home, Portfolio folder, and click on Select. Then here, yep, I chose the authors. And here I'm gonna create a file. I'm gonna call it index.md. I'm gonna put a bunch of markdown text here. Well, for your final project, we're gonna be building your resume over here. You know what I should do? I should use, for the sake of demonstration, I should use the resume file that you guys did for lab 1. So let me do that. Let me go to learning lab 1, resources, and the lab 1 files. Yep. Again, I'm just gonna use this for demonstration purposes. Oh, I already had a folder there. Lab 1, question 5. Just gonna copy this. Sorry, copy. And I'm gonna put it in portfolio, paste, close, close. Okay. Again, I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. You're gonna write your own. I'm gonna copy what I have on info, and I'm gonna put it in index.md. Just gonna delete this. Okay, let me format this. I have the picture from Joe Doe, that is John Doe, boom, and that is fine. I'm a bold this just because. Professional summary. And skills, education. Now let's convert this into a table. Boom. 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, boom. 1, 2, 3, boom. Right click and auto format. Done. Next one. And boom. Now in the middle. Boom. Next one. Technical skills. John Doe is a master of Microsoft Office. He can hack NASA with Excel. Done. Okay, and what else can we do over here? Let's make this a bulleted list. Boom. Let's make this a bulleted list. Boom. Let's put this in italics. Boom. Same thing with this one. Customer service representative. Actually, no, we're gonna make this bold. Why not? And again, bold here. And okay, what else can we do for John? I think that's good. Let's take a look at preview of this and see how it looks like. It doesn't look bad. Let's turn this into a website. So let's right click and convert to HTML. And we have a proper HTML page here. And if you want to look how this HTML looks like, there is a package called Live Preview that you can install. Hold on here. Live Preview. Live server right here. Live server, which should be installed by default because the script that you ran at the beginning installed it for you. And if you right click and you click on open with live server, it should show you how this HTML looks like. See, for example, if I do a change here, let's say I'm just gonna do a change on the CSS for the body, and I'm gonna say background color is gray, and I'm gonna make it important just in case it gets overwritten somewhere. See, it starts showing you a live preview of your changes that you make. All right, so I'm just gonna remove this for now. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that I finish with my project. I finish with my amazing website that's gonna make me $1 million. I'm gonna push this to GitHub, just like we do with our labs. So I'm gonna click on terminal, new terminal, git pull, which is gonna pull nothing because it's empty. Oh, there is a problem. I think I don't have the SSH key. Let me fix that. The SSH key for this virtual machine was deleted. Let me fix that. Okay, we should be good to go. Git add period, git commit -m, finished, and git push, boom. Okay, so if we go to GitHub, you're gonna see that you have your files there already, which is great. It's beautiful, amazing. I'm gonna turn off this virtual machine now because I'm done. So quit, and turn this virtual machine off. I'm done writing my code. I'm ready to put it on my server. Let's start the server. And I don't remember which one I was using. Was I using? Oh, I was using bridge adapter, so that's fine. Okay, back to the Windows terminal, and let's sign into the server. The first thing that you should figure out is Git installed in this computer? So where is Git? It's not installed, so let's do sudo apt install git. Yes, enter. And that's it. Now let's move into, let's cd into var www.html. And this is where we're going to clone the repository. So clear, ls. You know what? I'm going to clean this folder. rm -r everything. Just going to clean this folder because I don't want none of that mess. I'm going to do git clone git at github.com colon your username, which is, well, your GitHub username. That's mine. / and then the repository name, which is portfolio. Press enter. Yes. Oh, that is bad. Well, I actually don't want to put the SSH key in GitHub for the server because that's not really needed because this is a public repository. So we can just clone it with a URL if we want to. So we can do git clone https github.com, my username, and then portfolio. The reason why you got this error here is because the SSH key in this computer is not in our GitHub account. We can do that. We can just the same thing that we did for lab 2. We can put the SSH key in this machine in our GitHub repository, in our GitHub account, and then this command will work just like it did. But we are not going to be pushing from the server. The server is just going to display the result of our code. So I don't think that is worth it to do it that way. Instead, we can just clone the public repository. Now, if this was a private repository, then yeah, if it was private, but this repository is public, and anyone can clone a public repository. So if you type ls, you're going to see portfolio here. And if we do ls portfolio, it has all of our files here. So I'm going to go back into my web browser in Windows, and I'm going to refresh, which, oh, the cache is, this is a good opportunity for us to demonstrate this. Now, this page is cache. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open it in an incognito window. There we go. Now it's better. Now notice that it opens this, a folder. And now the folder has index.html. Does that make sense? Hopefully it makes sense. But why don't we practice a little more? So if you are, let's say we have another index, another HTML page here. So let's repeat the process. Let's say that we want to add more pages to this document. I'm going to turn this machine off, sudo shut down now. Good. And let me turn on my development machine. Switch. And let's sign in. Okay. Perfect. So now let's open VS Code and I want to add more content to my website. And because let's pretend I don't know HTML, I am going to write it in Markdown and I'm going to convert it to HTML. So I'm going to do file and I'm going to call this contact me.md. Right, and I'm going to call this contact me, and then here's going to be my phone 973-111-333-444. My email is going to be me@me.com. Me@email.com. Okay, and I'm going to put some random text here. Let's use lorem and Ctrl-Shift-P, lorem, multiple paragraphs. Just put 4 paragraphs and random text for the video. right? And I'm gonna put an image here. Why not? Random. And let's download a photo of a cat. That's a cutesy photo. And I'm gonna put it in portfolio. I'm gonna call it cat.jpg. Cat.jpg. Save it, right? And I'm gonna put a random table here too. Random, random, item one, item one, done. And let's convert this to HTML. Good. And now let's convert it to PDF too, because I want to show you something. Done. Okay, so I have three new documents. Let's send them to GitHub. Clear, pull, add, commit, push. Done. There you go. So let's turn on my server. This Ryzen 5 2600, man, has been an amazing CPU. Can't believe it's that old and it performs this good. I have OBS in one screen recording and virtual machine that runs like butter. Insane. It's gonna be difficult for me to upgrade to another CPU considering how well this one works. I'm gonna sign into my virtual machine and I'm gonna cd to var www html, right? And then portfolio. Then here, I'm simply gonna pull the latest changes that happen into the repository. Git pull, and that's it. See, these were the files that we just uploaded there. Now let's go to our web server, 192.168.1/portfolio. Good. Now see what happens when I do /portfolio/ contact me.html, and it loads the page that we just built. Great. Look what happens when I change the URL to contact me.pdf. It downloads the PDF file that is currently stored in the web server. And that's it. This ends our little project of setting up a web server in Debian and how to put files in there. You learned 3 ways of putting files in the web server: via SCP, via Filezila, and also using Git and GitHub. So if you have any questions, let me know. Have fun.